This is an acting podcast. Young actors discuss acting in the industry and whatever to hopefully share something that is of use to you, whether you be a beginning actor or an experienced actor or someone just interested in behind the scenes. This is...
I'm Katie.
Katie.
Thanks, Dempsey, for having me.
Thanks, Kate, for having me.
Do you, for context,
Mm-hmm.
Is our last conversation usable?
Dead in the water.
Right,
In fact, that's what the context would be. Okay, hi everybody, welcome back to this podcast. We've got Katie Douglas, Catherine as she prefers to be.
I don't prefer that. I've
Tight.
never wanted that.
What's your middle name?
I'm embarrassed. I don't want to say.
There's nothing embarrassing about Wartsmith.
What's your middle name?
My middle name's Nicholas.
That's nice.
Family name, yeah.
Okay, mine's Emily.
Emily.
Yep.
She goes by Emily, or Emma. Her friends call her Emma. And we recorded one of these podcasts before in the lobby of an apartment building that neither of us were living in.
In the middle of a snowstorm, like a blizzard.
And a pandemic.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's dead in the water. We're not gonna release that.
So we essentially just had like a manic, hour-long conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a
About acting.
Okay.
Because that's what actors do. They discuss acting. I feel like that's the one thing you can't discuss as an actor. It's like living in the East Village. You can wear anything and no one will judge you except a suit.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to find meaning in something that is pretty arbitrary.
I'm just laughing at the direction this podcast will surely
Guys,
go. Like
I
this
just want to let you know that this is the worst day ever.
Yeah.
We feel
Fucking terrible.
so. Buckle up.
Oh boy.
So, do you have a role model?
Yeah, I like to look at myself 5 years in the future. And then go in the polar opposite direction. No, that was Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Oscar speech. Okay,
Shout
so...
out to Matthew McConaughey.
If you guys haven't heard of Matthew McConaughey, check him out. I think he's in some TV shows.
Thanks, Matt.
He's been coming up recently. I think he'd be good in rom-coms.
I think he'd be good in the movie I'm writing.
Oh, yeah. Matt, if you're listening, respond to my DMs. So basically, for context, maybe I'll cut that, maybe I won't. I don't know. Just so you know, I feel like the more honest we can be, the better.
I completely agree. Otherwise, why is anyone listening?
Yeah, and now, they may not. I don't have an audience yet. But if they ever start, I think that they'll really appreciate us rambling and ranting and stumbling, as opposed to having like
I agree. This isn't. It's not all that. It's not that deep. What we do.
This is Emily Douglas. She goes by Emily for her friends.
I've never done it. No one's called me that.
How does it feel when someone calls you Emily?
Emily. I just feel like they're not talking to me.
I see.
I don't really.
Yeah, it's like a song
have anything to give them because I'm not Emily.
What about character names? Do you respond to do you actually feel like they're talking to you?
I actually do, yeah.
You do?
If people call me my character name, it's
me. Yeah.
It's fucking insane.
Do you want them to call you? Would you want people to, if it wasn't pretentious, would you want people to call you character names on set?
Oh, it's kind of like a method thing. I don't mind that. I'll do that. Sure.
I
wouldn't demand.
No.
I wouldn't ask anyone to do that. I think that's a little. I'm bringing somebody into my whole problem, my identity problems.
Like bringing somebody else, like the crew or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to involve anyone in my bullshit.
Oh, okay. Do you ever do anything to stay in character? Like, is there a character? Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I've been listening to a lot of music.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been making playlists for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know how like the nature of being on set can be like it's a hectic environment and you lose yourself and people talk to you and I think it's really helpful to be able to just pop in headphones and get into the feeling of what you're trying to communicate rather than just thinking about the words. I listen to music.
Okay, interesting. So is it, I listen to music as well. You took a huge inhale, like you were, like it was a pain, like a grimace at the what just came out of your mouth. You're like, can I take that?
No, I
back?
bet you do. I bet you do. Fucking steal my.
You know what? Now that I mentioned it, I'm gonna start going by Emily as well. Yeah, it's weird that Emily's the only thing I respond to. The only thing when I feel like someone's talking to me. Just super confusing for the Emilys in my life.
Do you think? Why do you think you're an actor?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, I don't know. It started. It's so weird. Like I feel like it was. It feels almost like an accident. Like it was something that was totally inarticulable when I started. And then it's still inarticulable, but it feels deeper. Like I was like, oh, there's something, like I just want to do that. I don't know why, but I just want to do that. But I wonder why anyone's an actor. You know, I wonder about the value of acting. First of all, why are you an actor, Emily?
It's a good question. that I asked.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I don't know. I think we talked about this last time, and like out of fear of sounding, grandiose. I feel like creative people sometimes are very discontent with their realities, more so than people who are not creative. And I don't mean this like to sound grandiose, but I feel like creative people kind of have like a higher consciousness.
Not to sound grandiose.
No. You know what I mean? But like, I think we're very we're just not content with our realities, and seemingly a lot of actors that I know and creative people tend to be like really sad or a little bit insane. So I think that comes into play a little bit. It's just like wanting more from your reality.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Discontented, I think, is exactly right. I feel like that's why I was writing. That's why I started writing. It was the first thing creative that I ever did, and it was because I was just bored with the life that I was living at the time. I was bored with high school, so I wrote. I was like, oh, this is what I would do if I could do it.
Yeah.
And it feels like maybe that's a similar thing, like. But then, do you think that discontent could be damning to one's own mental health? Like, do you think you need it for art?
No, I don't think you need it. I think it helps. The thing is that everybody dreams. Like everybody lives can go to sleep and then live in a dream world. And I think that's something that we're obsessed with as well. Is like escaping into another form of reality in which that you can control. So I don't think you need to be discontent. I think you can just be creative.
Yeah, those are different things, creative and discontent.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an unhealthy thing that actors do when they think that they have to be like in pain.
Yeah.
Put something out. I don't think that that's the case at all. I think it comes from a very deep place.
So yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot and talking about this a lot with anybody who will listen, basically, which is which is that I feel like actors will fetishize emotion and crying, you know, and wanting to be vulnerable. And it's weird because in like theater school, so if anyone's in theater school, like and there's value to that, like being like to not having a defense or a guard up. But I think that will become a goal for people is I want to be emotional and I need to be fucked up to be emotional. But then if I look at the people and the performances that I respect and inspire me, it's not a grand display of emotion. Is generally the power that comes from, I think, from releasing the that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
But releasing the not being beholden to the opinions of other people too much, like releasing your need for whatever that thing is, affirmation or whatever, just not being beholden to their judgment, and then really going for something that you want as effectively as you can.
Yeah.
And it's not the crying.
I don't think it's the crying. It's something that we can all relate to. It's something that I think all human beings are connected to. Like we're connected to this this web of emotion, and we use it to to communicate with each other, and maybe through like acting or storytelling. Essentially, what you're trying to do is for me as an actor, I'm not trying to feel anything. I'm trying to communicate this thing that we're all connected to, like this consciousness that is feeding us, and it's what makes us alive, and it makes us different from other animals. We're so poetic as beings, and we don't know why.
Right.
And it's something that we really have always just needed and wanted to do. I'm reading the book of Disquiet right now, and I read something the other day that I probably took a picture of it. Would that be weird to read a passage on the podcast?
Yeah.
I love this book so much. I would recommend it to like anyone.
That's great. What's it called?
It's called The Book of Disquiet.
The Book of Disquiet.
See, I'll put out like a trigger one. It's a very sad book about a very sad man, but it plays on the themes of like anxiety and having multiple personalities and perspectives. I really love it. So I read this. This is a passage that he wrote. This is written in like 1913. I sometimes think how lovely it would be if I could unify my dreams and create a continuous life, with one day succeeding another, with imaginary banquets attended by imaginary guests, and to live and suffer and enjoy that false life. Misfortunes would befall me there. I would experience great joys, and none of it would be real, but I would have a superb logic all on its own. It would follow a rhythm of voluptuous falseness and take place in a city made of soul, stretching as far as the quay beside a calm bay, far away inside myself, far, far away.
Hold on, let me turn that off.
And it would be all very clear if you didn't have to.
I can't believe that. Okay.
No, keep it in. Keep all of this in.
Of course. I'm not going to cut anything. But that was meaningful.
No, it's exactly what life is right there. And he sums it up by saying,
No, read the one.
far, far away. Far, far away. And it would all be very clear and inevitable, as in the less aesthetic external life lived far from the sun. That's like 1913. He's basically talking about, I don't know, he's talking about a concept that I think is an extension of what we do, like just creating another reality.
So that's sort of what you're doing, is creating that reality.
Yeah, escaping.
Do you feel like you're creating it, or do you feel like you're finding it? What's a good way to articulate that?
Yeah, I think we create it. I think we find it along the way, but that's not the point, I don't think. For me, do you find that you kind of use acting as like therapy?
No. I thought you were talking about like this other world that you're creating in the world, the narrative world.
Yeah, I guess you do finding it.
Do you?
I think you do both.
I'm going to ask you a question I asked you before, and I loved your answer, and it sort of introduced me to a new way of thinking about acting or characters specifically, and I liked it. Do you feel like it's you? Like, do you think these people are versions of you, these characters, or not?
Yeah, I don't think it's me. I can't think it's me because I feel like I'm fucking faking it. Like, it's just, for some reason I get so embarrassed, like when I'm just standing in front of these people and I just feel like I'm faking it. Like, I'm so embarrassed about my job. So I have to be somebody else.
Right.
Like, I have to be somebody else. But not to... I think the one thing that I do remember always is that, like, the one thing that I do have in common with my character is that I'm human. So it really isn't that complicated. It's just say the line how you would, because, you know, just human.
What does that mean, say it how you would? See, I hear that, and I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just something I've never understood, which is how you would, like how do you know how you would say it?
I think if you were to like go about your daily life and speak as though you're not reading a script, that can be very helpful in communicating that you too are human. If you really need to convince people that you're human, you should do it just like that. No, I don't think it's a matter of of mimicking yourself. I think it's just mimicking life. Maybe.
Yeah, see, I've wondered, is it people going like, is it people being like, okay, if I was in a situation like this, because I feel like there's a part of it which helps me, which is that you never really know, and I mean, this is going to sound like a platitude amongst actors perhaps, but you don't know how it's going to go, but you don't know also what it's going to feel like until you're there and you've got the energy of the people watching you and maybe you feel uncomfortable, whatever.
Yeah.
That said, though, like, the knowing how you'd do it. Well, here's something that I can take from that, which is something that I've been thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
Is that something that I noticed, a pet peeve of mine, is you'll see acting and like the guys will like talk a little bit lower and it's growly and it's cool.
Yeah.
You know, cooler than they are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, that doesn't really feel like the job. It's the things that make, and I just think this is a little nugget for anyone who wants to take it and eat it, because nuggets are good, chicken ones. Not vegan chicken nuggets. They're terrible.
What are you talking about? They're like the exact same thing.
No, my God, they're not. Vegan chicken nuggets?
Do you really think you're eating chicken when you're eating chicken nuggets? Is that the type of person you are? You think it's chicken?
Do you know why I stopped eating chicken nuggets?
No.
When I was a kid?
Let's
Because
get into it.
I saw Super Size Me, and it wasn't because of how bad it was. It was that I realized what a chicken breast was. I was so grossed out.
Wait, what about the chicken breast?
I was like, that's a boob? Ew.
That's the most lovely thing I've heard all day.
What was I saying? A nugget. Oh yeah, that generally speaking, the things maybe that you're insecure about are the things that kind of set you apart. I was watching a movie recently that I did, and some of the things that I was insecure about, I was like, oh, I like that. That felt a little more realistic.
Yeah, right? Do you think that it's probably best to watch your work?
I do.
To learn?
I do.
Yeah.
Do you?
I am someone who does. I know a lot of actors don't like to do that, but I can't imagine how I would grow without watching myself fuck up. I do.
There's a real pregnant pause.
Yeah.
Watching myself fuck
I really need to.
up. I gotta stop coughing at inopportune times. Yeah. So.
No, it's okay.
No. I think, and I like watching playback. I don't love watching it once it's done.
Here's the thing.
But I'll do it.
Yeah, it's not fun to watch yourself back. I think the point is that you want to enjoy what you're seeing. Like, you want to watch that scene and be proud of yourself, but like, you often not, because you are holding yourself to a standard in your head, and you have all of these outtakes in your head, like all of these ideas of what you should have done and what should have happened, when the viewer's really only just watching a movie.
And they're not even watching you.
They are not watching that. They're not paying attention to that stuff. Unless they are.
Yeah.
They're watching you.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing, is that it's such a different medium, like film or TV and theater or anything where there's like an immediacy between the actor and the audience. It just doesn't exist in film.
Yep.
There's the editor. There's everything goes through all of those filters, and so it's just like I feel like there's a whole other process of approaching that, watching it.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that it's helpful to be like, and also you're comparing it to where you are now as an artist, what you find interesting now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is difficult because sometimes it takes 2.5 years for a movie to come out, and you're like, oh God.
Isn't that the worst?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of cool. I heard this story about Johnny Depp's tattoos. Someone asked him about a Winona Ryder tattoo, and obviously they had they had broken up. I don't know what their relationship was, but they asked him if he regretted it, and he said no. That was honest to that point in time.
That happened, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's a good metric.
It's a good way to look at it.
That was you at that moment as a human and an artist.
The thing in life, you don't get multiple takes. Neither should your character. Like, I completely agree. It's you can kick yourself all you want about not doing what you think you should have done on camera, but it really it's not all that.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
Not all that?
Oh my God.
Do you think it's all that?
It's all that.
Sometimes I wonder if it's all nothing. And not just acting,
If everything's nothing.
And what does that mean for, someone said this the other day, they were like, the reason why art's important is because nothing matters, and this is an example of that, where you're deriving some pleasure from something that's meaningless.
Yeah.
Like that the audience is deriving some pleasure from something that's meaningless.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily agree Does that feel accurate? But I don't I wouldn't like condemn someone for thinking that. Does that make sense to you?
I'm someone who finds a lot of sense in that. I really, I think what we strive to do is to apply meaning where there's no meaning. That's what we do as people.
As people, right?
As human beings, which is really lovely, and sometimes we're really good at it. And it's it's nothing to be condemned about. It's decorating your time.
I like that, decorating your time. And so art does that to the audience, or art does that to the artist, or art does it to both?
Art does that.
Art does that. You dropped the mic onto the mic, and I love that. I'm going to start doing that from now on, so you can hear the mic fall.
It just is. We just are.
Right, and that's a cool thing too to know, and I love, and the we just are, like, okay, right now I feel borderline hallucinogenic.
Yeah, God, what is this vibe?
But that's what I'm saying is, like, I kind of like let's just live in riding that wave. And is that not what I mean? Now here's me deriving meaning.
Okay.
But being in a place where there's people around you and they all have their own energy and there's lights. And you're in a specific place and that's got its own energy. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it is what it is.
You know what? We were just talking about this. There was a time a couple months ago where we were just at this party, and I think immediately I walked into that party and started disassociating. Like, it's you kind of go through the motions of, all right, we're at a party, we're laughing, we're smiling, we gotta do the party thing. And then eventually, you and I just ended up, like, trolling people. And then we ended up squatting on the floor in the middle of a crowd having a conversation. And I think what that was for me, I was just looking at you and realizing, like, oh, Dempsey and I were just opening the wormhole into this connected web of emotion that we need. Like, we lost it there for a second, but then we found it down there on the floor.
Right.
And it's that. Yeah. It's like opening little wormholes into this big connected entity of emotion. Yes,
and life.
Consciousness.
And, consciousness, right. And I love that. Because I think, did I mention I love that? Because I feel like we are, so this is my, there's a spiritual philosophy that, and it's basically pervasive. Like, I think in most spirituality, they'll attest to this, that there's a sort of oneness. There's some semblance of a oneness. And I do believe that interpersonally. And I feel like, what a beautiful thing that you're introducing, because when someone sees a protagonist on screen, ideally they're identifying and they're saying that's me. They're not saying that's Tom Cruise. They're saying that's me, or Joaquin Phoenix, or anyone. Like, that's me living through this other experience. And so you can empathetically connect. And that's also kind of what we're doing, is opening that wormhole and saying, and hopefully doing that for them. Like, there's some movies that I'll come out of and just feel more present and more alive. Or performances. I watched Mark Rylance recently in this play called Jerusalem in London, and I was blown away, and it changed the way that I was thinking and feeling and being. And I feel like perhaps that's one thing that art is doing, is being like, you're not better than those people, and you're not worse than those people. You are those people. And that's an interesting thing. I wonder how do you have a process for, like, opening a worm? Like, is that a wormhole? Like, is that something you do? Are you, like, conscious of that?
The art of opening a wormhole.
That's the title of this podcast.
Maybe, that's the outstanding point here. Is maybe from here on out, I'll start practicing the art of opening a wormhole.
But if you're on set, you're not doing, like, is there anything?
I do. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. I think it's honestly, like, is it's about truth, and it's about empathy, and it's about finding that little bit of truth that's in the project that you're working on. It's really easy to get lost, especially right now, like, trying to figure out, like, what the fuck are we doing? Like,
right.
What is the point here? Am I being a puppet, or am I actually...
Right, because you didn't write it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that?
Yeah. But I do think it's important to ground yourself and find the truth and, like, the empathy and the communication in what you're doing. A lot of the time, too, you're just performing.
Yeah. Where there's a lot going on simultaneously. And I think the reason why people feel it's intuitive, like the art is intuitive, probably is because the best practitioners of it are that way and it feels that way. I don't mean intuitive being something mutually exclusive from preparation or intellect or anything. I just mean like it gets to the point where so many plates are spinning subconsciously. Like I don't know, you know, maybe at the beginning you're thinking about where you need to stand or hitting a mark or lighting or angle of whatever, or not moving so much on a, you know, a close shot, and then later that's a subconscious process. So maybe it's like all of the things you're plate spinning, performing, doing everything, but then you don't have to think about that anymore. But I wonder, is it when you said connecting to like that energy and communicating it, are you communicating it to your partner, the person you're communing with in the scene? Are you communicating it to the audience? Like who are you communicating to?
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if you could communicate like that with your partner? Like it would just feel a lot more real. Yeah, I think you're communicating through a camera lens to everybody who, like the viewer. But I would love to connect with my screen partner. Like that's kind of what I want out of all of this is finding a little bit of realness in the scene, even though it's not real. I don't know, like I don't know if I'm really in tune with this like this like outstanding truth that a lot of actors talk about, because a lot of the time I don't even know if I can feel anything anymore for real. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something that I'm aware of, but it might not be my truth. It's tapping into it though. It's not I don't know.
Well, there's something you said what before, and this was the question I asked you years ago: is it you? Is it someone else? And I was very much of the opinion that it's you. It's got to be you. It's got to be you. That's how it's truthful, and there's validity to that. But then also you said this thing, and that was very much how I was indoctrinated to feel and think. You know, in theater school, and so they say that.
Yeah.
But you said this thing. You're like, no, it's not me. It's this other thing. It's this other person.
Completely.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not gonna deny them the opportunity to exist in this realm.
Yeah.
And that was so interesting to me, and I let that sit with me on the next project, and it was sort of a thing where it's like, yeah, it's not you. It's you're sharing the space.
Sharing the space.
With that thing. And, you know, different things, different projects, different ways to skin a cat. But that was really interesting to me, where it's the actors who I think I really respond to, there's a, like, spiritual is such a weighted word, but maybe
I
like
spiritual.
You like it? It works for you? Yeah. I feel like that's authentic. And also like maybe just like an ethereal element to it, where it's like, you know, but again, we don't know if that's us endowing meaning into something because we want it to be a certain way, and there's a confirmation bias, but it's fun that way too.
Maybe.
It's fun though.
It's fucking fun. Guys, there's no rules. There's no rules to this fucking game.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm fucking in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's no rules. It's absurdity what we do. It's absurd.
Yeah.
And I think it would kind of be a disaster to apply rules to this. It's an art. We want it to be an art. Sometimes it's not art, but I think we want it to be. I want it to be. I'm gonna make art.
Yeah. And think about it, like, this is so interesting. You said this thing about it's not real, but also the feeling thing. You're like, I don't even know how much I'm feeling on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So where does it come from that the characters, is it in the script that it's like the characters feeling this?
Yeah, but it's also...
Where's that expectation come from?
What do you mean?
That's what it needs to be, that they need to be feeling this or feeling that.
Yeah, I think it comes from the script.
Yeah.
It comes from the script, and then I think you can do a lot of your own character work too, and then apply your own ideas to and humanity to the character.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important, and when it comes to collaborating and working with a director and a scriptwriter, like they hire you for your ideas.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who draws from life quite a bit. Like if I'm do you ever do that? Do you like wander around? you gonna barf?
Burp or barf? I don't know
barf.
what it is. I don't know which one. And neither is coming up. But that's the thing. Maybe the burp doesn't come up. You know what I mean?
But
Maybe that's the
thing. Look
thing.
how beautiful this moment is that we just shared together. Like sometimes I just take little bits and pieces from life, and I'll be like, oh, I gotta bring this to the screen.
What would that be? So let's say you're taking from that moment. How does that? Like
don't you never see actors almost barfing on camera.
Right. And because maybe our innate, or not everybody, maybe like an innate impulse is to be better at living. And
it's like this polished little piece of perfection. But sometimes that's what people want. It is.
Yeah.
But I really like bringing funny, like human things to the screen. Like, that's also a way to connect with the audience. Is just like, it's just bringing your humanity.
Don't be better at living than when you're living.
Yeah, and sometimes you want to watch Matthew McConaughey with his deep, gravelly voice because it's fucking cool.
He's cool as fuck.
You can do that. It's just like, you can do anything.
You can, but there is something interesting about being not any different. Like, they always said this, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and it's really profound when it lands, because it's like, if you walk around, like, take a look at yourself, you walk around and you're pretty uncomfortable a lot of the time, and then you're not uncomfortable when you're shooting, maybe there's a question to be asked, why? Mm-hmm. And what are you how certain are you of something? Like, Mark Rylance said this thing. I'm obsessed with Mark Rylance now.
Who is that?
Mark Rylance is this British actor, and he was he was a stage actor, and he's just sort of broken into the American film industry. And it's really funny because people ask him, like, how does it feel to make it? And he's like, I kind of thought I was doing okay back home when I was doing plays. And he's brilliant. Yeah. And he was probably killing it. He must have been. And I just saw this thing that blew me away, and I started thinking about, it's like he was lost the entire time. It's everything he did felt accidental, and I'm sure it wasn't, because I actually saw it twice. I was so moved by it that I saw it again. But everything felt like he was finding it, he was finding it.
He was living it.
Yeah, living it. Yeah, and it felt that way. I don't know what it felt like to him, but it felt that way to me. But so he was.
Those are my favorite performances.
Yeah.
I can't wait to check them out.
Yeah, you have to. I'm trying to think of what I was even just trying to say right now.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. Is just the authenticity that he brought to the screen made you feel a certain connectedness to the outstanding project. Like,
right.
I know exactly what you mean. It's a concept that I've been chasing and trying to bring to my work.
Yeah.
But more than anything, I love to see other actors do that.
Yeah.
I respect.
Can you take stuff from them? Can you take stuff from watching other actors?
Can you take? I do.
You do?
For sure.
Like, what would you like if someone was watching? Because that's something I like to do, like to study. Is like, or not study, but you see something and you're learning from it.
Well, it's not that you're taking it. It's like you're learning about what works, or it's like they're giving you permission to be creative and to take what I like to do is like take that and expand on it and do something that no one else has ever done before. It's when people do that, and I really like an actor. It's like they're giving me permission to go do something better and cooler.
Oh, I like that. No, it's like, is it that I like that because it ties us together as a community of creators, because then you're building on what someone else did.
God, I learned from actors. I learned like so much from actors. That's probably why I ended up being an actor, because I always just loved. I learned emotion through watching like movies.
Do you remember a specific performance or a specific thing you learned or took away from something?
For sure. Yeah, got a lot of those. It's a hard one. It's like, what's your favorite movie? But yeah, growing up. Drive.
Yeah. I learned something from that.
I'm a gatekeeper. You gatekeep?
Are you of your own? Still gatekeep your own things?
For sure, my own things, but also anything that I fall in love with. I don't know why this is such a bad quality, but I gatekeep this shit out of. I need something to myself.
Do you feel like that with acting? Like you're like, there's like secrets or things you won't talk about, like process, or like I'll get nervous talking about process.
Sure, yeah. It's your product, so you're working for yourself and you're selling yourself. So I think that's understandable and allowed.
How do you balance? And the answer may be I don't know, but how do you balance the business side of our industry with the personal side of our industry, because it's so innately personal, acting?
Yeah. How do I balance?
Or like, yeah, what's the relationship between those two things for you?
Well, weirdly, and I'm sure you can relate, this has become like our main job, like our main source of income. So it's just so fucking weird to have this emotional thing have a price. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because it's like my motivation now is to book a job when before, I think, or it still is, but before it was about, creating.
Right.
So, the thing is, too, you don't get to choose when you work. You don't get to choose to be an actor. Someone has to give you the chance. So.
What's your advice for surviving that? Because that could be tough.
Just be gentle with yourself. It's really tough.
What does that mean? Be gentle.
Taking rejection is hard on a lot of people, and it can be discouraging. I don't think you should let it discourage you because it's hard for everybody. Like, it's just be kind to yourself and don't, like, the right role will come. You're not a failure. Just cry.
That's the direction that you get a lot of the time. Could you cry on that line? Only out the left eye though, thanks, because we're shooting from that side. We're not lighting the right. Do you not get rules sometimes?
Yep, I never get a bad one.
It sounds like a silly question, but I think that like everybody feels like everyone looks outside themselves like, oh, look at all them and all the things they're doing and
doing so well.
Yeah.
But you forget to look at the good things that you do have. You just gotta, you know what? Everyone's career is gonna be so very different.
Right.
And you're gonna have friends who are just on such a good run right now, and you're just not on your good run right now. Like, it'll come.
And you can sabotage them.
You can really sabotage them, and and steal their agent and steal their girlfriend. Like, you can just learn from them.
I think that, look, also I feel like on the lowdown, it's important not to like compare, and I do that, but it's also I like what you say, you don't really control a lot of it. Like, most people are not in a position where they're choosing what they're doing. Yeah. And even the people who are have probably an overwhelming anxiety if you're still, predisposed to anxiety, be like, am I doing the right thing? I think everyone feels anxious.
Yep.
Do you feel anxious you're going to get fired after a table read? Have you ever had that? The anxiety?
Yeah, I've had that since I was younger. It's just feel like I'm going to disappoint and make them think that they picked the wrong person.
Interesting.
It's a lot of pressure. Also, just I think it's so fucking cool to care. So work your butt off. Like, try to make connections and go to acting classes if that's what you're into. Like, it's just so fucking cool to care. So I don't know. I think you gotta find that healthy balance of taking care of yourself and
That's such a good point, caring. I think that people, I feel like the general arc that it feels like the stereotype for what people, the like intellectual and like psychological path that an actor will take is like caring very much at the beginning and being very desperate and then getting to a place where you just don't care at all. And I feel like that's the defense mechanism, because it's painful to care if you're taking personally rejection. Like, I don't even think you should think about it like rejection. It's just, I think a good way to think about it is either I wasn't right for this, it wasn't meant to be, if you can find that, or just be like, man, they made a mistake. You don't have to be like, oh, this person sucks or whoever got it. But if you can just in your, like, maybe it's a little egocentric, but if you could just be like, man, I'm the shit, and oh, they just really fucked up. I kind of feel that sucks for them. I feel like you'll survive better.
Yeah, it's a cute way.
Than being like, oh man, I think just whatever it is, operate under the assumption that you're going to be able to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Confidence is key.
Do you like actively develop your own confidence? Do you feel confident? Are there things you do that make you confident?
God, I used to. I sometimes remember the kid that I was, and I have no idea where that person went. I was confident. I think I knew, like, when I would walk into an audition room back when we did that.
Yeah, that was fun.
I learned that there's a trick to having the least nerves in the room, and it would always work for me.
Do you know what's the trick?
You just tell yourself, like, I think I first of all I wouldn't think about it too much at all, and I go like, well, I'm gonna show them what I have to offer, and what I have to offer is exactly me. It's all me up there. So
right, and that was the trick.
Kind of, yeah. Just not care, but don't try to pull any like weird strings to what am I saying?
I think I know.
I'm saying just walk into that room with confidence.
Right. And it's also like, it's the duality between caring and then being inhibited by it is marked. But I think, to me, what makes sense is that, like, the actors who I love and who inspire me, like Mark Rylance, like, they'll hear this all the time now. Anyway, whatever, care immensely about their craft, but don't necessarily care about being perceived as a good actor. Now I'm projecting, I don't know, but I feel like hopefully when you get on to set and you're having a conversation with someone and they're shooting it, it's, you know, it's not about impressing people. I heard an acting teacher say, express, don't impress. And I like that a lot because, like...
Express, don't impress.
Yeah.
Huh.
Because
it's so funny, I'm always trying to impress people.
But are you trying to impress the people, like, behind the camera? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, first of all, who doesn't? Like, of course you want to be like this great actor, but I really like care, because then you can care very much about your craft and about what you're doing and what you want from this other person, and you could care very, very much, and you could do all your whatever your process is, or you can channel whatever you want to, but it's not about going on and, like, there's a simple and a lot of the time the reason I say this is because people often get the things that they don't care about.
Yep. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
There's something to that.
There is something to it, and I've wondered about that. What is that? Why do you get the thing that you don't think is very good and you don't care about? Is, I think, because you're stripping away the need to impress.
No nerves, baby.
And you don't have the nerves, and so it becomes real. But the thing that I feel like sometimes you lose the baby with the bathwater is then not caring enough about preparation, and sometimes that can be a crutch. Like, yeah. I'll see people who get to a certain place and they're like, I don't really prep anymore. And, like, I've succumbed to that malady sometimes, as being like, you know, feeling like you're above something, or you don't do that anymore. That was when you were young. That's for people who are not experienced. And I don't think that's true for the really great ones that I love. But if you can maintain somehow an ability to, like, withstand the urge to be impressive and to be good, and instead just focus your attention on what your character cares about, I feel like that's helpful. Also, what a different thing between auditioning and acting on set.
Yeah, for real.
Different craft.
Oh my god, yeah. Totally.
What is that for you?
I was just about to ask you how do you prepare?
Oh, okay. I will answer, but I want to say something else.
Oh my god.
And I may not answer. No, I will try to answer, and I'll try to answer honestly. But I saw on Instagram your audition for Ginny in Georgia that they posted.
Yeah.
You remember that someone posted that?
Yeah.
Like a in the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're confident. I was like, you just fully did it. Like, you went for.
Oh, I play a completely different character on that show. Yeah, like,
and so that frees you a bit.
That's not me.
And stepping into that frees you. Then is that right?
What do you mean, like stepping into
that character? Being able to be...
Yeah, because I'm not feeling like I'm being a dick. My character's if anyone doesn't watch the show, my character's a dick, a little bit.
If anyone doesn't watch the show, unlikely. Katie. They've seen... This is Ginny. No, God. No, I'm joking. I'm fucking.
No, but I don't have to worry about being a dick. She's a dick.
Yeah. It's freeing.
Yeah.
But good that you... Okay, so I feel like some people don't want to be perceived as... Don't want their character to be perceived as a dick. You don't care about that?
Oh, well, no, I think... Okay, I don't even know what I did with that. This is so weird because I read her, like... and I saw somebody that I knew in her, and I imitated this person that I know. And it's the type of person where I don't even know if I should have done this, because this goes back, like, if I regret my acting decisions, because it's the type of person like that if now I'm not a violent person, but if someone were to pay you like $200 to punch anybody in the face, and you immediately, your head goes to like, oh well, that person, I wouldn't do it, but that person, I was channeling that person for me. And now I do have a character on TV who is kind of punchable. I don't know if I had to make her like that, but I did.
So why do you regret it? Because you've now brought life to this quality, this persona that you don't like?
There's truth in this character, and a lot of people really relate to her. I relate to her. You know, it sucks being a high school girl. But I do get a little bit insecure that people are going to hate her, because I really loved her at one point. And then I think I brought a lot of truth to the character. I do get insecure that people are gonna hate me because of her.
You personally, because of her. Oh yeah, interesting.
Which is silly. I don't care about. I shouldn't care about that. But yeah, I get that that anxiety.
But it's good to know that you have it. I think that what we're sharing hopefully is just like people being like, oh, like maybe some of the value of this will be people be like, oh, I feel that, or they feel that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Everyone feels that. We're all sort of this like the same. It's interesting that channeling someone. I like that.
I like imitating life.
Yeah, it just channel this. I remember just hearing, okay, be this person as you're doing this, and it kind of frees you in a way. Even doing an accent or something, it just frees you because it's not you anymore. Maybe you're not so self-protective.
Have you ever played a real person?
Yeah, I have.
It's great. What is that? Maybe it's just easy.
Yeah, I mean, you have a different thing you're shooting for in a way, and you kind of have some. Maybe there's like some semblance of certainty as to like where you should go. But I like the idea of it not being you. And and
you know what?
Frees you.
But it's almost like you're trying to do this real person this justice when you're portraying them. So maybe what we should be doing is looking at every character like they're a real person,
right,
and trying to do them. This is probably an acting technique, and it's not new. like
what if we said it like realistic and good and like?
What if they were watching you behind the camera? Just telling you,
oh, that's interesting. Do you ever do anything weird like that? Like sometimes I've heard people be like, oh, like not to blow anyone's cover, it's just like interesting things like, oh, I'm imagining somebody else looking through my eyes or something. You know what I mean? Watching what I'm watching or something, or being a conduit to like.
Oh, baby, I've done it all.
Yeah.
Weird shit all the time.
Do you ever do it for acting, or is it like, do you ever put something in it where it's like, oh, because like Mark Rylance said this thing, and have you heard about Mark Rylance?
I can't wait to meet him.
I like him. He said like his intention for one of the things in this play, and like brave of him to reveal this, I think, was to instill this dragon energy in the youth of in the play. And I'm like, what a beautiful intention and action, because it is actable. Like sometimes you're like, no, you need a really realistic thing.
It's probably very telling on camera too.
Yeah, well, this was him on stage, and like I bet you could feel it. But like it's the special thing about that is that I think the advice that I've heard a lot is, no, you need something very literal and concrete that you can be shooting for, that then you can see on the other person. You want them to love you, and what does that look like? I want them to laugh with me and hold my hand and forgive me for blah blah blah, whatever, which is super literal, and like, okay, that could work, but like instill dragon energy, like that just sort of takes it to like
it gives himself a spirit animal,
spiritual level, and that, I mean, what were we just talking about now? Having something that sort of allows you to depart a little bit from the literal world, and then you're now maybe channeling something else, or you're just free. It's the same as being a different person or having the accent, just anything to kind of.
It is. You're departing from the literal world. I love that technique.
But it's the same as what you kind of said about being channeling another person. That's really interesting. Yo.
Sometimes I'll do I also write in a little journal when I'm preparing for. I'll write diary entries from the perspective of the character, just to make it a little more personal. Yeah. Sometimes if there's a word in the script, I'll just obsess over like this one word, and I'll just write it over and over again in my own handwriting, or just like. I'll use this word to kind of drive me through the scene if I'm ever like becoming detached from.
It'll connect you back to the.
Yeah. Just like repeat this word
in your head.
Yeah.
Really? So as you're shooting, will you, like, between action and cut, you'll have it in your head and you'll kind of be thinking of it?
Yeah, or I'll just go back to my journal. I'll just, like, have to remind myself what I'm doing.
Yeah,
connect that feeling
again.
Oh,
I love that, connecting back to something. That's a good way. Like, that's an interesting, you were talking about music for that. That's such an important kind of thing, is, like, connecting back to that. Well, first of all, something that also made me think of being like, this moment's not real. People are watching you. I remember having a moment early on, and I heard this great advice. I read it in this Mammoth book. It was like True and False. I would recommend that. That'll be my recommendation. It's a fucking phenomenal book. And he went to the school that I went to, but I think he kind of resented a lot of acting technique, and was basically like, the thing that I took away from this that I think is beautiful is invent nothing, deny nothing. Oh. So it's revelation. You're not creating, you're not putting anything, you're not putting a hat on a hat. You're just revealing what it is. And so he's like, whatever you're feeling, that's what your character's feeling. So if you go onto stage and like us, we're feeling like, I'm like feeling nauseous and sort of just completely disassociated. Detached. And then like, that is what your character's feeling at that time. And I remember having this moment where it was kind of an intimate, it wasn't like physically intimate. It wasn't like, holding hands or anything, but it was something just like intimate between people. And I had this moment where I really became aware of how many people were on set and how quiet they were being. And then I was like, okay, well, let me just go, instead of trying to put push that down and repress anything or a thought or a feeling. Let that be what this is, and maybe this character feels a little awkward or uncomfortable. And I like that because and this is an audition note as well. If you're anxious or nervous, your character's anxious or nervous. You don't have to hide that at all. When are you not anxious? I'm nervous all the time. You know, like social. Like when are you not anxious or worried about something?
I stand by that so hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to let it flow and be, and that now, if you believe in some sort of divinity or you believe you're channeling anything or whatever, now you're like Kobe Bryant would meditate. Rest in peace. Brilliant artist in a way, craftsman in what he was doing, and he would meditate while they were singing the national anthem, feeling the energy of the arena. His preparation was never the same before any game. It was what he felt intuitively he needed to do that. Sometimes he'd be shooting from the threes, or sometimes he'd be from, you know, whatever. And that I feel like a lot can be learned from Kobe Bryant by artists. Like his work ethic was insane. He just did it so much. He explained why he would train 4 times a day is because he said like the amount of time on the ball, quite literally, if you're training 8 hours a day, everyone else is training 3. By the end of the first year, there's, you know, a market gap. But by the end of the third year, there's no competition.
Yeah.
I feel like with acting, if you could put time into it, you'll see returns and you'll be able to share that with people. And then for him to be able to like meditate and feel what that moment is, I feel like, is that not exactly what an artist could be doing? Is allowing that?
I think it's almost essential.
Right.
Just it's like connecting yourself to that universal truth.
Right. And what is the risk there? Is that it won't be good, right?
That it won't be what the people want.
Right. And someone might laugh at you. Like, I think it's very important to know what you're afraid of. Because being afraid is okay, I think, as long as you can identify it.
Yeah. Being afraid is very important. Be afraid.
Yeah.
But, yeah. God, it's so fucking weird to be a performer, though.
Do you feel like you're performing? What does performing even mean?
Well, sometimes I didn't want it to be that, but sometimes it feels that way, don't you find?
What does that mean to you, performing?
Like you're trying to, in this weird way, sway the audience, entertain the audience, and get their attention, and just to make good content that people are happy with, and you know. I struggle sometimes to figure out like what I'm making.
Yeah, and it's hard to know.
It's hard to know if I'm. Usually, people want you to perform.
Right.
Because that's our job.
Yeah, but like, what if you do that from a place of love, where it's like, I'm doing this for the audience? Like you talked about communicating through the camera, and I think that's great. I think Rylance talked about that as well, is having the audience be a part of the performance.
Yeah.
Where they're not on the outside; it's us experiencing this together.
Yeah.
There was I saw something that you did, a scene where you were talking about love or something.
Fuck, you don't watch anything, but you've seen shit that I'm...
Instagram. It genuinely was. I don't know how it popped up on Instagram.
What do you do? What do you like do? Like, do you just, how do you hold shit down? You just holding shit down? Do you like not watch anything?
No, I do. I've started again. But that was, I quit watching TV. I quit.
Do you watch things that your friends
now I watch. Now, I probably should more. I haven't.
You haven't seen the
I haven't seen any Stranger
Dempsey, what
Things.
do you do?
I don't, what do I do? I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I like if I get addicted to a show, I'll watch. I love Succession. I really love Yellowstone right now. But there's something about watching something that feels passive to me that I just don't like that much.
I feel that.
What do I do? That's a good question.
Sometimes, if I hold some kind of like resentment towards a project, like there's a role that I wanted, I used to do this thing where I tell myself like, I can't watch that, it's too painful.
Oh,
but then I
really?
started watching it and it's pretty rewarding. It's
No, I do actually think that knowing the context that you're existing in as an artist and as a human I was listening to Sapiens, this book, and it talks about our human.
Oh,
yeah, brilliant. And I'm like, oh, I kind of understand myself and everybody now who's existing at this point in time more because I know the context. And I was actually watching jazz in New York, which is, it's not the most popular art form anymore. And I was watching I was at like Smalls or something, and it was like the best practitioners of the craft, and I was like just imagining this at Coachella, and being like, if I was watching the best practitioners of hip hop right now, it would be with like thousands of other people, and I wouldn't get this intimate relationship to the performers that I would. And I was like, interesting to see jazz, like the timeline of the art form, and you can kind of see the evolution of it, and so you can decide where you want to go, as opposed to if I'm fixated only on what I'm doing and where I'm at, it might be a little bit like I've got my blinders on. So I actually do think that I should watch more stuff.
That's so funny you say that, because it's weird, because I also don't watch anything that's popular. For some reason, it's never been like something that I like felt like I wanted to watch.
Yeah.
That's like, because it was so popular, I felt like, oh, I should probably watch this thing,
right?
To see like where the industry's at right now, and it was rewarding. It was good.
It is. I think it is helpful. No, you know what? Let me think of people who I might have been salty about.
This is so.
No, I'll try to think something.
I can't think of a single person that I'm.
There have been moments in my life that I've seen, and I don't do this often, and I'm glad that I don't, but that I've looked up a project and seen who got it.
Yeah.
And there's been moments where I've really, and I actually really value these moments, because they were kind of like breakdown and breakthrough moments. Because I was like, what? I had an ego. I mean, everyone has an ego, and I was like, da, 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 da. And then I was looking at these things that I didn't get, and at this specific time, I was like, I needed to upgrade my thinking, and I needed to reevaluate what I was doing, and I needed to grow. And I think often when you break down, you can like reevaluate things with a cleaner slate and a clearer perspective. And so like there have been times that I will be like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? And I actually think that's a good question to ask. Like there was a time where I was very frustrated, not about anything in particular, but it was a bunch of things that like there was like a span of like 4 months when I was like, a lot of things came really close and went the other way or another way. And I was really frustrated. And it took that moment for me to really reevaluate, like, what was I doing? And I had to ask my agents for advice. And I was just like, am I missing something? Is there something I could be doing? And they gave me really wonderful advice, which I'm going to share, which is that they were like, for one, you're doing good work. Like, we know what work looks like because we have all these different people. So having that sort of instilled a little confidence, like, okay, the work is there, that's good. There's always like something to learn and grow, of course, but that was helpful. And they were like, for one, don't be worried really, or try not to be frustrated by these things, because they're not even the things that you really should be aspiring to do. It's just work for work's sake. And sometimes you want that kick, that those like that serotonin, those endorphins of being like the validation of working.
It's the validation for sure.
And then they were like, yeah, it does. It just feels, but that's maybe the thing that I try to shed, is being like, that's me being like, I want to celebrate with my friends. I want to feel valid. And I'm like, I should just feel valid. And on my better days, I'm just feeling valid regardless.
Yeah, it would be a toxic thing to rely on, for sure. But, everyone needs a little bit of reassurance.
Yeah, of course.
It's really important.
And that's sort of what one of the things the agents were doing. So they gave me the reassurance. They said, keep your sights focused. And even just like energetically, don't be frustrated, be excited. That was really helpful, a helpful reminder.
Totally.
And then they were also like, there's an element of this that is business related, which is that you haven't established yourself in a role that a lot of people are going to see at the time. And like, that's something to remember for people as well, is that you could be doing really great work, but you might need to you need something that's going to break.
Yep.
And then people will see you, and because it's a business for a lot of people, for producers.
What we were just talking about. It completely is a business. Like, you're selling yourself.
Yeah. And then they need to trust you. They need to be like, can we trust you?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something else that when we were squatting down at that party.
Yeah.
It was interesting the direction you took it. Was that it was connecting to something energetic, and at that time, to me, what it was I was uncomfortable in that sort of conventional
party setting.
And generally speaking, I haven't been, like, historically, I haven't been all that comfortable with convention. Not like for better or for worse, like that can be harmful socially at times, but then being somewhere else, doing something that's off center, is like, oh, I get that, I understand what this is, because it's coming from me. And it's like, maybe that's a takeaway as well, for people to be like, okay, like, you don't have to just be like own all the weird idiosyncrasies that you have, because that's generally what's going to make you real or interesting or something.
I completely agree. Don't conform to convention. That's so boring.
Okay, well, this feels like a natural endpoint.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you want to cuss out?
Yeah, you got anything to
To confess? Any confessions? Any last minute confessions?
Yeah, this is Katie Douglas. You can follow me. And I'm probably next week gonna have a cold. Got anything to plug?
No.
Okay.
So good. Yeah, great. Any last minute piece? We have book recommendations, advice.
Read the Book of Disquiet. I'm like loving it. I'm loving this book.
There's an Alan Arkin book, An Improvised Life, or no, David Mamet. I'll stick to my guns. Any last minute? You started young. I was lucky because I had people who could direct me in the industry and creatively. People don't have that. A lot of people. Is there anything you'd tell people who are young and trying to get into it?
Is there? I would say just pretty much. I would repeat the entire conversation we just had.
They listen to this podcast. I love that.
No, I would say don't get discouraged, man. It can be such a lovely craft, so be the reason why it's lovely. Just don't be discouraged.
Yes. Okay, beautiful. And this will be you talked about this will be mine. You talked about not being nervous and like something to help with that, and I kind of gave the thing of like let it flow. The other thing I'll say, someone told me this, and I haven't even really tried that much, but if you I was gonna make a joke about some sort of illicit substance.
Oh my God, make a joke.
No, I've decided against it.
No, you're just not funny. Admit it.
See, that feels. I don't even feel the rejection of that because I'm a consummate professional. That's not about me. That's about them having bad taste. Now,
I thought this podcast was gonna be so much more depressing. We hopped on to this podcast.
Holy.
Like we hit like a low emotionally.
Bad. And we said now's the
let's
time.
do a podcast.
And we didn't know how to set this up.
I thought you were gonna like die for a second.
Yeah, I felt like maybe midway through. But I was like, is that not acting? And so I'll say that if you want to not be nervous, I've heard this. If you're doing it for someone you love, if you're like, this goes out to someone important or someone I love or whatever. If you're doing it for someone else, it's impossible to be nervous. And I don't know if that's true, but I do know that it kind of takes it out of you a little bit. And whether you're channeling someone or you've got someone in your life that you really love and care about, maybe that connects you to something. I don't even know. Maybe it's for people who have lived through things like this, where you know that people should hear what this is saying. So I'll say that. That's my sort of takeaway.
You have a muse?
What does that mean?
Like a muse is like someone who inspires an artist.
A single
creatively.
person?
Yeah. Well, no, I think you have a bunch of muses.
No. I think be honest, maybe. Okay. Guys, this has been Emily and Dempsey, and this is Dempsey Bryk, and well, Katie already plugged her Insta, of course. So we'll end it here. Thanks for watching. I hope you took something from this. Tune back in. We're gonna be discussing acting with a lot of different interesting people.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
There's no one listening.